Hey everyone, happy Monday. Of course, there's so much to get into for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Going to go over some key points from Sunday's massive win over the Carolina Hurricanes. The Penguins finally got that monkey off their backs. Also, of course, trade rumors. We're just going to continue to plow through those on this episode and, of course, this entire week. If my luck has it, maybe they'll make a trade while I'm recording right now. Probably not, but, you never know at this point. And, of course, we're going to preview Tuesday night's game down in Nashville. That's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is to cover the season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So, starting things off, going to get into some key points from that game against Carolina, a 4-2 Penguins win. So they lose the season series, but they get a 3 out of a possible 6 points against the Hurricanes. And this was a big win for Pittsburgh. They're now 5-1-1 in this massive 9-game stretch against some of the best teams in the league. I'm including Columbus in that because I think they're better than a lot of people give them credit for. But if we shrink it even further a little bit, 3-1-1 versus Carolina twice, Tampa Bay, Vegas, and Florida. That is a 7 out of a possible 10 points. You take that every single time. For those people that are saying, well, the Penguins can't play against the best teams in the league, or, they're not really that good. Well, I think they just proved that they can play against the best teams in the league. And not only can they play with them, they can beat them. And we saw them, again, take down the Hurricanes 4-2 on Sunday. Honestly, I saw some people a lot more negative than I thought they would be. I didn't like the third period. I guess we'll start there. And we'll just get the negative out of the way. I thought they were really on their heels for a team that didn't play the day before, and in Carolina did, to get that badly out-attempted and outshot. The score effects were just really bad. I think that's kind of unacceptable. I didn't really think Tristan Jarry needed to stand on his head there. But, that kind of period – sometimes you're going to have periods like that in playoff games. That's how these things go sometimes. You're not going to be bringing, your 100% best effort every single period. Hell, it's very hard to outplay a team like Carolina for 64 minutes. Heck, any good team in the league for that matter. I know it was 2-0 and maybe they were just turtling a little bit, but it didn't really look like it at times. But, Tristan was standing on his head, playing really well. Sometimes, again, you need your goalie to be your best player, and he was that. But I still would have liked to see more offensive zone pressure and much better forechecking in that period. I just didn't really like how Carolina continued to get, look after look after look. They made it 2-1, a little over 5 minutes into the third period. Brett Pesce makes it 2-1 there. And then the Penguins, they're on their heels for the rest of the time. I mean, Carolina had some great chances to tie it. I'm glad the Penguins were able to, play at least decent defensively at times, but, it was mainly Tristan Jarry was the only reason that game was 2-1 heading into the final couple minutes. I mean, if he's not on his A game, that game is tied, probably going to overtime. And, who knows if the Penguins even win that game. He was their best player. And again, sometimes you got to win ugly. I mean, every team has to do it once in a while. And I'm glad the Penguins were able to. It's a big win. It shows that they can beat Carolina, because I think had they lost this game, I'm curious to see, what they would be thinking about this. Going into the playoffs, they'd be a team that, got swept in the season series. I know that doesn't really mean much come playoff time for some people. It resets, it's 0-0. It's like you haven't really played them. Remember, Penguins they won all 3 meetings against Boston in 2013. What happened after that? They got swept. So it's nothing. It's not like that big of a deal, but still, I wonder at times, would there be like a psychological advantage, for Carolina's because they beat them 3 times in a row, and the Penguins, honestly, they didn't really lead that many times in those 3 games. That said, outside of that period, I thought the Penguins played pretty well. That first period, I thought Carolina dictated the first 10 minutes, but Pittsburgh really pushed back in those final 10 minutes. That was a really nice showing there. They were forechecking a lot better. Defensively, they started out a little rough in that first period, but they didn't really give up a lot in the next half. And then the Penguins are able to make it 1-0 thanks to Brian Boyle. And what a story he's been this year. I can't say enough positive things about Brian Boyle. He's been that good. And, in a perfect world, he's probably your 13th forward come playoff time. I know the deadline is still 7 days away. We're going to have to see what Ron Hextall does. Going to have to see how the overall health of the team is. Jason Zucker is already back skating. He's been, putting up some really good sessions lately. He's not skating with the team, but he's skating with some of the other, the strength and conditioning people. But it's still great that the Penguins, they have Boyle just in their pocket, honestly, if they need it. And he's exceeded all my expectations this year. I think he's exceeded everyone's expectations this year for the fan base. So I can't be more thrilled with him. Great finish pass, Antti Raanta. Also, what a pass by Teddy Bluger to feed that right under the stick. I believe it was Slavin who was covering him. I mean, that's just that's a beautiful passing play. And it's plays like that really stand out to me. I know he does a lot of the little stuff so well. He's great on the PK. And was pretty good against Carolina's power play on Sunday. But man, is he good with those nice little soft passes right to the high danger zone. Again, where Boyle's able to finish it. It's just, you can't replace that in the bottom 6. So that's such a fun player to watch, and I'm really glad that he is back healthy. I'm sure he's going to ditch that full face shield, pretty soon. And then, the Penguins, they were able to make it 2-0. Danton Heinen gets his 13th of the year. His career high is 16. The Penguins continuing to get some depth scoring. That is huge. Remember, Ron Hextall called his team out late last week saying, we're not getting enough scoring from the bottom guys. The first 30 to 35 games, I was loving it. Lately, it's not been happening. He was basically challenging the bottom of his lineup to come in and produce. And they have done exactly that these last 2 games. You look at the goal scorers from the game against Vegas to the game now against Carolina. Think about it. Mike Matheson scored. Hell, Zach Aston Reese finally comes out of the woodworks. I know it's an empty net goal, but who knows what that does for his confidence. Jeff Carter scores. Evan Rodriguez scores. Danton Heinen scores. He's been a bit cold. Again, Brian Boyle, as I just said, it's players like these that they got to step up down the stretch. And I know at times, you're paying a lot of these players to, play in the bottom 6, and there are going to be stretches where they don't score, over 15, 16 games, because usually these guys score 10 to 15 a game. But that said, their play still needs to be a bit better at times. And I think this has been a really big step in the direction, for the depth of this team, because all those players were so good for the first half of the season. And I know they went cold, but to see them, finally step up, and especially against Carolina, because for the first time in quite a while, the Penguins' top line was pretty bad. Sidney Crosby looked way off in that game. And it's a mulligan. He's going to be fine. Brian Rust was okay. Jake Ensel was all right. But, usually that line is carrying the Penguins, right? But not in that game. It was the depth scoring that finally came back as it did against Vegas. That has to continue if the Penguins are going to go, on a Stanley Cup run. So really nice to see that back again for a second game in a row. Sidney Crosby's empty net goal, though, was just spectacular. Basically a 200-foot empty netter. I don't even know how you aim from down there. That's crazy. And of course, Zach Aston Reese, he is able to get back on the score sheet. Only his second goal of the year. No, it's an empty net goal, but, maybe this does wonders for his confidence. Trying to think of anything else that I missed for this game. Again, Tristan Jarry was spectacular. This was probably one of his best starts of the year. Was making save after save after save. And again, as I said a few minutes ago, you need your goalie to have games like that at times, especially in the playoffs, because the Penguins, they're not going to have their best efforts at times in the playoffs. But if their goalie is able to make some key saves and keep them in it, and they are still able to win ugly, a win is a win at the end of the day. So really nice performance from him. I'm going to get to a little more on the game coming up here in the next segment. Obviously, we have a lot more to talk about for this episode as well, including some more trade rumors with Vancouver, Pittsburgh, preview for the game against Nashville. But before I get to that, our next partner has a product that I have been using a lot for the last week. So I started taking Athletic Greens last week. I kind of wanted more energy sometimes during the day. I'm, very laid back. Maybe it's just because I'm sitting on the couch writing a lot of stories for The Spun by Sports Illustrated. Of course, that's where I work. Heck, even my girlfriend has been trying it for a week. And, I honestly, I think it's pretty good. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It kind of has like a mild tropical taste but I still actually look forward to every morning. So you're probably wondering, what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. I usually consume it, right after lunch. Honestly, again, I still want to, be as healthy as I can be. I don't really like doing it in the morning. I think that's just the wrong kind of do, especially when I'm drinking coffee. That's not going to mix well, at least in my opinion. But, as for a price range, it costs you less than $3 a day for this. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's also cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. They also have over 7,000 five-star reviews. It's recommended by a lot of professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So, remember a while ago when that art museum Mattress Factory asked me to do some promos? Well, I have great news for you all. 22 of you bought tickets through that link, which was way more than they anticipated. Thank you for showing up and proving that hockey fans are more complex than a lot of art people give us credit for. Your response is why they wanted to come back and make a big investment in bridging that sports/art divide. Mattress Factory is actually partnering with the Penguins again against the Boston Bruins on April 21st. And this time, the museum is giving hockey fans free year-long memberships, not just a day pass. You can learn more and get your tickets at mattress.org/GoPens. Also, you got to check out the Locked On Penguins Twitter account tomorrow. There's going to be a couple questions that the museum wanted me to ask you. I'm going to be reading and replying to some select comments here on the show. Just saying, I warned them that you're going to be honest, but hey, just be cool about it. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @LO_Penguins. So a couple other thoughts from the game against Carolina on Sunday. Kasperi Kapanen comes back into the lineup. Actually had a couple of good scoring chances. It's baby steps. Very nice. Came in on a 2-on-1. Decided not to pass it as he's done so many times. And actually had a nice wrist shot on Ronta, better save. Another time he comes into the zone, right boards again, fires a nice slapper that, he probably scores last year, but this time it's saved again. But, it's a process. It's a process. I'm glad that he was actually having a much more of a shoot first mentality, at least. So to see that, it makes me a little bit happy. I know it's probably not going to mean much in the long run, but I think it was at least a little bit of a step in the right direction. Obviously, Marcus Pettersson was scratched. Definitely a little surprised, but, I think Sullivan wants to see how Mark Friedman does with a bigger sample size because he has been pretty good. I don't have a problem with it, but it does create an interesting situation with the Penguins blue line here, which I guess leads me into, some of the trade rumors. The Penguins and Canucks, it sounds like they've been talking a whole lot lately. And per Elliot Friedman on the Jeff Merrick Show, 32 Thoughts podcast, and Hockey Night in Canada this weekend, it sounds like old friend Jimmy Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, they've been asking about John Marino. They would like to acquire for him. I'm sure the Penguins would love a forward in return. Besser, Garland, heck, even JT Miller. Somehow that's probably not going to happen. But Friedman did say it doesn't sound like the Penguins are interested in trading Marino because they think highly of him. And, I would have to agree at this juncture. I think that's a move that you maybe explore over the summer once Chris Letang is signed. I am not a fan of trading John Marino right now because say you do and say Chris Letang walks. What are we doing? In all seriousness, what are we doing here? What is the plan for those top two right-handed defensive slots? I mean, is Chad Ruido going to go up there and play top pairing minutes? Nope. Is Mark Friedman up there going to go play top pairing minutes? Nope. I don't think they are. They're going to have to either go out and make a couple trades, mess on a couple free agents, and maybe, John Klingberg, of course, is going to be out there. I know the Stars are basically keeping him right now as a rental, but, it doesn't make, I guess, a lot of sense for the Penguins to go out and trade Marino right now. I think personally it would make more sense to go out and maybe trade Pettersson over Marino. And I know how good Pettersson is at, zone entry denials and all his defensive work. It's all very good. His underlying numbers are, they're great to say the least. But I still think that's a position of strength that the Penguins can deal from. And again, per Friedman, the Canucks actually have Pettersson circled as another target for the Penguins. So I don't know if there is a deal to be made there. Friedman kind of poo-pooed that on a lot of other, just on all of the shows that he appeared on. So, we'll have to see where this next week takes us. Maybe talks can get rekindled or something like that. But as of right now, it doesn't look likely to happen. Again, my top target from Vancouver would be Connor Garland. 5x5, better underlying numbers. I think he's a better finisher than Besser. I think he's a better playmaker than him. He's better defensively. You can honestly play him on any line, either wing, to be honest. Besser has that massive qualifying offer, and outside of sometimes scoring, I mean, he doesn't really bring a lot to the table. I would still welcome him as an addition here, but I would prefer to go after someone like Garland. That's my opinion, though. I don't really know if Vancouver wants to give him up. I mean, Vegas has been really bad lately. The Canucks are right there in the playoff chase. So we are going to have to see what happens there with that, for over this next week, to say the least. I think that basically wraps up all the trade rumors that I've been hearing on the Penguins. There's really just it's been pretty quiet. Obviously Ron Hextall keeps a very low profile. He's not going to say much. But again, I still feel like it's prudent for him to go out and get another winger. This team has proven that they can play with the top teams only. They're 5-1-1 in their last 7, 3-1-1 in their last 5. I know they have 2 more coming up, 3 more games total until the deadline. Nashville, St. Louis, and Arizona. But I still think Ron has to go out and at least do something, in my opinion. I don't really think I have anything else to touch on from the Carolina game. Just a great win, and the Penguins are still second place right now in the Metropolitan Division, and it would be one hell of a series if those two teams go at it. But coming up in the next segment, we're going to preview the game on Tuesday against Nashville. And would you believe me if I told you that Matt Duchene has 31 goals this year? Yep. It's I am dead serious too. I was reading. I was honestly scrolling Twitter today, and I saw Adam Gretz wrote the article for, I believe it was Pro Hockey Talk of NBC, and I was just like, What? Yeah, he has 31 goals, 59 points in 55 games. And this is a player that was not really that good last year. He only had 13 points in 34 games. The year before that, 13 goals, 42 points. This is the first time he scored 30 since 2015-16 when he was with Colorado. But that's all coming up in the next segment when I do a full preview. It's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. March Madness is here. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all of your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports betting information needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, this is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all of my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to a resolution to eat right, thanks to you, Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you are missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're all so freaking good. Overall, though, with all Built Bars, they're low calorie, high protein. You can replace your candy bars with these. They have 100% real chocolate with them. Most of them contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. For the flavors, mint brownie, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. At Built Bar, they are all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how, but they pull it off every single time. You go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, we're back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @LO_Penguins. So, big matchup on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. start down in Nashville, Tennessee. This will be the Penguins' first time playing the Predators this year. I'm sure UC Saros is going to get the start. He has been absolutely ridiculous this year. Has 21.7 goals saved above expected off of a .923 save percentage, 2.44 goals against average. His goals saved above expected is third in the league behind Shesterkin and Frederik Andersen. Tristan Jarry is still top 10, 14 goals saved above expected off of a .922 save percentage. So it all starts there. He was honestly going to be Pekarine's successor going back to 2017. That's how long he's been with the organization. Heck, I think he's been there even longer than that, too. But he's here in a real way. He's one of the best goaltenders in hockey. I don't think enough people are talking about him as a potential Vezina Trophy candidate. He's one of the biggest reasons why Nashville is in a playoff spot right now. But a big reason why Nashville is in a playoff spot is because of their high-end talent this year actually playing like, they're getting, what's the word I'm looking for? They're being paid like elite players, but they weren't playing like it last year. This year, they actually are playing like it and living up to the money that they make. Roman Josi has been unreal. 66 points in 57 games. He's going to be a Norris Trophy finalist. Heck, he may even win it potentially this year. He's one of the 3 best defensemen in the league. As I already said, Matt Duchene has 30 goals. Philip Forsberg is over a point per game. He also has 30 goals. Johansson's almost at a point per game, 44 points in 56. Mikael Granlund's played really well. Colton Sissons is right there. But it's mainly those first 4 guys that I mentioned that have been so good this year for Nashville. And that's really had them, they were in the top 3 in the Central. Now they're down in a wild card spot. They're in a bit of a dogfight to get into the playoffs. But, that's been the main reason why Nashville has been so good. Their top line of Forsberg, Johansson, and Duchene has been one of the best top lines in hockey. Mikael Granlund is on the second line with Tolvanen, one of their young players who's, I'm looking at his numbers right here. He's played in almost all their games, but has 17 points in 56 games. He's struggling a little bit, but he's still really young, I think, at this point. Colton Sissons anchors the third line. I'm pretty sure I forgot they totally have Nick Cousins, but Tanner Gienot, 18 goals, 33 points in 59 games. He is on the third line. Defensively, Roman Josi obviously manning the top pairing. Matthias Ekholm is still there. I believe these guys, their defensemen, I almost forgot Ben Harper was in the league. Matt Benning, I almost forgot was in the league. They're not that deep on D. It's mainly just Josi and Ekholm and then just kind of a bunch of meh. But again, they've been carried by their high-end talent this year. I think, John Hines has done a pretty decent job with them because last year, they made the playoffs, but, it didn't really look like they deserved to be there because a lot of their high-end talent was just stinking up the joint. But this year, they actually look like a bona fide playoff team. And, it's all due to their stars actually living up to the money that they are making. Obviously, the vibe check is going to be crucial for the Penguins. They play much better on the road this season compared to home. I know the Penguins have won 2 straight games. At PPG Paints Arena, they went 2-1 on this 3-game homestand. Now they have 3 games on the road before the deadline. Obviously, one of the biggest keys as well is stopping the Nashville's high-end talent. Curious to see what Mike Sullivan does with that top line for the Predators. I'm not really sure what line he's going to match them against. Maybe it's the Bluger line because, they can honestly go out there against anyone, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Crosby line goes out against them to take that top line away. And then, the Penguins can also just play their matchups because honestly, Nashville's bottom 6 it's okay, but I would still take Pittsburgh's. And I think their second line is also, it's not bad. Granlund's not bad. Tolvanen is still young. Kunin is a decent player, but, the Penguins' depth, I think, shines over the Predators right here. So that's an 8 p.m. start. Going to be a fun game. I'm sure the Penguins will play Nashville back in Pittsburgh. I believe it is back in April. I'm just going to double check the schedule here real quick. No, I do not have the entire schedule memorized. I'm not going to do that here. Yeah, the Penguins will play the Predators. Yeah, April 10th, 4 p.m. start. That's a Sunday. So about a month's difference. So it's pretty weird. We're getting to the part of the schedule where usually the Penguins have played almost every team in the league, but not Nashville. Heck, they haven't even played Colorado yet, and they're not going to play Colorado, I think, until April. They will not play the Avalanche until April 2nd, and then they'll play them again the next week. So I think we have those games to look forward to as well. But that'll do it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I really appreciate all of you listening to this one. I'll be back on Tuesday for a full game recap episode for the Penguins Predators. And then remember, Thursday they're in St. Louis. Saturday they are in the desert in Arizona. So thank you all so much for listening to this one, and I will be back with you all on Tuesday.